One of the things that struck me as I read this book is that you haven't given up one of your most controversial beliefs. And that belief was articulated in your earlier book as well, that you have to sometimes use money and friendship to engage with those who are working against the nation. You talk a lot about, for example, separatist Shabir Shah in this book, your attempts to turn him around, how you would even encourage separatists to drop by unannounced, uninvited at your house for a cup of tea. In your previous book, you had famously said, corrupting someone with money is better than killing them. And you got a whole lot of flack at that time for saying that. You've stuck to that view, that it's okay, the job of a spook is to engage and engage by any means. In today's environment, do you think there'll be any takers for this belief?
I think the takers have increased, if anything, and we must remember that as spooks, we are not saints. We are more sinners than saints. So I think this whole business about money is used all over the world, in corrupting people, in winning over people, in agent running. Money is main.
But why spend money on those who are essentially also in bed with Pakistan?
Let me explain this to you, how the idea of money came to me. I'm not a moneyed person, and I don't throw around money. But when I was involved with Kashmir many years, and I started dealing with the separatists, I was informed that they get so much money from Pakistan. I said, what's the big deal? I mean, if they get so much money from Pakistan, I'm sure the Indian state can afford more than that. So we'll increase on that, and then let us see. And so that's how it happened. I don't think that's it should be so surprising.
There are people who don't belong to the world of sleuthing who might ask you a very commonsensical question.
Sure.
And they would say, Mr. Dulat, why should the Indian state spend money on those who also take money from Pakistan, who have links to terror groups? Why are we spending money on these people?
See, it's like this. When you're trying to turn around people, and like you said, who are working for Pakistan, then possibly it requires a little more investment. Today we've reached a stage in Kashmir where even the mainstream is suspect, or people look at them with suspicion. It's very sad. Because what has happened over the years is that, and this I think has been what India has been trying to do in Kashmir since '47, is to mainstream Kashmir, mainstream the leadership, get Pakistan out of their mind. And I think we've succeeded to a very, very large extent.
Have you succeeded?
The mainstream is over, it's finished. There is no mainstream. I mean, I beg your pardon, there's no separatism left. There's one Mirwais who sits in his house, who's been under house arrest, and I think he's sufficiently mainstreamed. If given an opportunity, I think he might contest the next election.
You think the Mirwais Omar Farooq, if given a chance, would be willing to contest an election?
Why not? Why not?
He's never done it so far. These attempts have been made in the past. Yeah,
they have been made. I was a part of those attempts. I'll be very honest with you. In 2002, in fact, I had a long conversation at that time, or conversations for many, many days.
To try and convince him to contest?
With Lone Saab. And Lone Saab used to say to me that I am too old now. I am too old, but I will help you. And he used to keep hinting and indicating that our main target should be the Mirwais.
But let me ask you this, after all these years of...
And I have had another theory. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I said at the time of the 2002 elections that maybe it's time for Kashmir to have a national government of youngsters involving the separatists. And I mentioned the Mirwais, and I mentioned Sajjad Lone, and I, of course, mentioned Omar Abdullah, and I mentioned Mehbooba.
So hang on, in the post-abrogation 370 Kashmir, abrogation of 370 Kashmir, we're in a very different context. Let me first ask you, all these years of the Indian state covertly helping with medical bills, for example, of a Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani.
Yeah.
Even engaging at some covert level with Sayyid Salahuddin, who heads the Hizbul Mujahideen and has been in Pakistan for decades. What has it got people like you who believe that engagement is preferable to open hostility? What has it achieved?
You know, we got Majid Dar across. I hope nobody's forgotten that. And I thought that was a very big catch for the intelligence agencies. Because, you know, although he was regarded as the 2IC to Salahuddin, he was really the brains behind the Hizbul Mujahideen. And he was willing to come across, and he was willing to join in the peace process.
And you had talks with him at the Nehru Guest House.
He was willing to help in the...
But the entire faction of the Hizbul Mujahideen that came across and engaged with the Indian state was eliminated.
That's right. That's right. That's unfortunate that Majid was killed. Because I feel and I believe that if he had survived, maybe we were not good enough in protecting him. I believe that if he had survived, he would have helped in the political process. He would have helped in engagement. He would have helped in negotiations. As you know, the Home Secretary of India went up to Srinagar to meet with his
I remember covering those talks, but I want to ask you, how do you trust an asset who's taking money both from you and the Pakistanis?
Well, that depends on the asset, and it depends on the handling officer, you know. How much trust you have. I've engaged with the Mirwais. I don't know what he gets from Pakistan or what he doesn't get. And I've engaged with the Mirwais, and he's been very honest very open with me.
So you do not...
I mean, he doesn't say a lot of things which he has said to me in public. But for instance, I believe the ideal combination in Kashmir today would be a combination of the two Umars, you know.
Mirwais Omar Farooq and Omar Abdullah.
Omar Abdullah, it's the best combination.
So you do not regret...
With Mehbooba, why not?
You do not regret having used resources, financial resources of the Indian state to engage with both separatists and militants?
Not in the least. And
I'm asking the question.
I'm answering your question. Do you believe that people are not being paid today? Political parties have been set up in the mainstream. You know that.